We're here to idea everyone, to fire up your curiosity and connect you with the people and ideas that shape our world. Watch, listen, understand, connect, create. Let's move the human story forward together.
Hello and welcome to The Poetry of Science, a podcast which provides insight into new scientific research via the medium of poetry. I'm your host, Dr. Sam Illingworth, and each week I'll be introducing you to some of the latest scientific findings and sharing a selection of science-themed poetry. After all, we could all do with a little bit more poetry in our lives. In this episode, I'll be exploring new research which has found that global reservoirs are becoming emptier. In the heart of Earth's veins the reservoirs lie, guardians of water keeping watch in the heat of the day and the cool of the night. As the world swells with our needs, these watered vaults begin to sigh and weep, their liquid wealth draining from the ground like sand through the fingers of time. In the glare of the sun we watch the waters fail to rise, swelling numbers simply scoring the emptiness within. Their sunken shelves searching for meaning on our ever-thirsty future shores. This poem is inspired by recent research published in the journal Nature Communications, which has found that despite increased water storage from new dams, the percentage of reservoir capacity filled with water is decreasing, underscoring the need for more effective water management strategies. Surface water reservoirs serve as crucial repositories for the world's water supply. As the global population continues to expand and the climate undergoes significant changes, the reliance on these reservoirs intensifies. However, a comprehensive understanding of the quantity of water stored within these reservoirs on a global scale remains elusive. This lack of knowledge presents a significant challenge, as it is imperative to accurately gauge our water resources to effectively strategize for future demands and ensure the sustainable use of this vital resource. Using satellite data, researchers in this new study have tracked changes in water storage in over 7,000 reservoirs worldwide from 1999 to 2018. They found that while the total amount of water stored has increased, mainly due to the building of new dams, the proportion of each reservoir's capacity that is filled with water has decreased slightly. This decrease is more noticeable in the southern hemisphere, while the northern hemisphere has seen a slight increase. This suggests that simply building more reservoirs may not be a sustainable solution to meet our growing water needs, especially as climate change is expected to reduce the amount of water flowing into these reservoirs. This research serves as a significant alert, underscoring the imperative for the development and implementation of more sophisticated and effective water management strategies for the future. Now that you've heard the science, let me read the poem to you again. In the heart of Earth's veins the reservoirs lie, guardians of water keeping watch in the heat of the day and the cool of the night. As the world swells with our needs, these watered vaults begin to sigh and weep, their liquid wealth draining from the ground like sand through the fingers of time. In the glare of the sun we watch the waters fail to rise, swelling numbers simply scoring the emptiness within, their sunken shelves searching for meaning on our ever-thirsty future shores. In this section of the podcast, I'd like to share a poem written by another poet on a topic related to the science that's been discussed so far. In this episode, I'll be reading The Reservoir by Mei Bersenbrugger. Born in Beijing to a Chinese mother and an American father, Mei Bersenbrugger moved to the US at age 1. She studied at Reed College and Columbia University and has authored 14 poetry books, including the Pulitzer Prize finalist, A Treatise on Stars, published in 2020. Her long-lined poems blend abstract statements with specific observations, reflecting her knowledge of philosophy, architecture and science, and her love for the New Mexico landscape. Bersenbrugger, who has taught in Santa Fe and New York, often collaborates with visual artists, including her husband, Richard Tuttle, a recipient of numerous awards. She resides in New Mexico. The Reservoir, by May Bersenbrugger. The reservoir is trying to freeze over with an expanding map shaped like an angel. Separated lovers on a coast keep walking towards each other. Low sun reddens their faces without heat. They are wary of always moving, so seldom touching but never think to move inland. Massive and stable, images hatched on thin ice. It's their illusion membranes are brighter than oculated flesh of interiors. Membranes have the density of an edge, and edges violent as lava. All day she walked across the tundra. He began to drive away obliquely at exactly her speed, so she altered her angle, aiming above him as in current. He departed in a zone that solidified at his whim, so she reached for his hand. Langed cracked with their weight, he seemed to reach toward her. Hands like paper, twisted and folded over, only a surface with one modulations, like a map. Then she delicately stepped out towards the edge, tenuous as a leaf, as if waiting for a letter, but it froze too swiftly before her. At dusk his voice broke her concentration. She turned, vexed, and saw he had not spoken. Thank you for listening to the Poetry of Science.
Thank you very much for being with us for this episode of the ideaXme show. ideaXme is a global platform. Our mission is to move the human story forward by sharing knowledge of the future. You can find us on all major audio networks at www.radioideaXme.com, on YouTube and Vimeo. Please subscribe.